Good early afternoon. We are live. I am scrambling. I just pulled in to Wisdom Harbor Studios. Whew. I'm Andy Andrews. You have joined us on the Blue Plate Special, and we're here in beautiful downtown Orange Beach, Alabama, in the shopping district we call the Wharf. And the Wharf is home of the famous escalator statues and also Sand Dollar Lifestyles, which you definitely want to visit if you're in our area. But visit them after you visit us. Okay, come up here in the studio in the semi-museum that we have, where we've got Andy Griffith Show memorabilia, World War II stuff. We've got things that you can guess what they are from the old days, which I guess I'm old enough to remember old days now. I remember when Austin was like 7 years old, and he said, "Dad, you know, in the old days," and I'm like, really? Okay. Hey, we've got a great show for you today. We've got a melange of stuff. Heather Ellison, hey. Loved your interview with Rose, did you? And you've already ordered the book. Man, that podcast just came out this morning with Rose Schindler. When I saw that we had the opportunity to have her as a guest, to interview her, I was actually nervous going into that interview. And for those of you who haven't seen that podcast yet, it just came out this morning. Rose Schindler is 92 years old and a survivor of Auschwitz. Her entire family, 11 of them, were put in Auschwitz, and the females put in Birkenau, which is Auschwitz II, Birkenau. And this story, I mean, you just don't hear a first-person account these days of something like that. And so definitely watch that. And if you're not getting the podcast into your inbox, please subscribe. It costs nothing to subscribe. It's just go to andyandrews.com/VIP and put your email address in, and you'll get the podcast delivered to your inbox every Tuesday morning. So Deanna Kilpatrick says she definitely has a sharp mind for 92. I thought she had a sharp mind for my age. I mean, I was blown away. We had some, you didn't see this on the podcast, but we had some production difficulties at the beginning, and she was just joking and patient, laughing, having a good time. But when we got into the story, it was hard. I mean, but she obviously has a great attitude about it, but you've got to hear this story. So, Bill Mamasa, hi. Marcy Crosser Taylor, how you doing? It's 33 degrees in Pasco, Washington. Wow. Hannah Gadlich, how you doing? Christy, my sister, your birthday's coming up, Christy. And so, Christy, are you a week behind on the podcast? Christy says your interview with Rowdy was excellent. So the podcast with the last week's podcast was Rowdy Gaines, the Olympic gold medalist and the voice of Olympic swimming. And it was. I had a great time with the Rowdy. Becky Ottenberry, Kevin Tim Perkins, the old man, is here. Old man, you got COVID, don't you? Yep. Okay. Chris Comer, J-Mo Ladd, wishing everybody a wonderful day. From sunny Mississippi. We have folks in the studio today. And so we have Brian and Lisa from Springfield, Missouri. They actually, did you guys actually fly in for Brian's birthday? But you didn't fly in for this. You flew in for this? Oh my gosh! The pressure's on here. I feel like we're all of a sudden under a lot of pressure. Now, where are you guys from? You're from Birmingham. Okay, so you just like happened by. So I'm not as pressured to put on an incredible show for you, but you will get an incredible show because you're here with the Missourians. They're from the Show Me State, and we've really got to show them today. Hey, best wishes from David and Becky from Gadsden. David Orr, my earliest memory as a child. Little M, you good out there? You remember David Orr, don't you? Yeah, David Orr. David, I say he's my earliest memory because when I was 2 years old, I can remember talking on the telephone to the Easter Bunny. And it was David. David is kind of a holiday conundrum to me because when I was little, he was the Easter Bunny, but on Halloween, I also got to answer the door. And I looked up, and David and two of his buddies were in tuxedos with green paint on their face and hands, and their hair slicked down and teeth, and it terrified me. I'm still wetting the bed to this day because of that. Richard Little. Hi, good to see you. Kimberly Petrucki. Hey, you enjoyed that with Rose Schindler? Yeah. Ooh, and I'm so glad you ordered the book too. The book is awesome. And I thought it was interesting in that interview. And if you haven't seen this interview, you need to watch it, and I want you to notice something. And if you've watched it, maybe go again and check this out. But there were 3 different times. I read the book before I interviewed her, and I took really good notes as I was doing it because I had specific questions I wanted to ask her, specific stories I wanted to prompt. And her son, Ben, was with her, just kind of off camera. You can hear Ben talking to his mom. But there were 3 things that I asked her about. And during the whole interview, only 3 things. I mean, I asked her a lot of stuff, but there were 3 things that during the whole interview, only 3 things she said, I don't remember that. I'm 92. And I said something like it's in the book, or you mentioned trying to prompt her, and Ben, I could hear her son trying to prompt his mom. But we talked about that after we got through recording that. And as you can imagine, that was a horrific experience. But those 3 things that I mentioned that she didn't really remember, they were in the book, but they were the 3 most horrific instances that occurred in the book that she wrote when she was younger. And so it just was a thought to me that just for self-protection, you would forget some of that. And anyway, that is, I think, not only a great guest, I think it's a very important podcast. So that's one to pass around. And, speaking of the Holocaust, Thursday is Holocaust Remembrance Day. So we're in the week of that we were able to place that podcast. And the other day, I did not realize just how many of my friends followed I was just, how do I say it? I was very unaware of just how many of my friends followed Ted Nugent on social media. I know that sounds like it's out of the blue, but it's not really, because I think it was last Wednesday, my phone started blowing up with friends going, "Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this?" And evidently, Ted Nugent posted about how do you kill 11 million people. And Ted Nugent has 500,000 people on Instagram and 4 million on Facebook. And so people were seeing it. And so he was talking about the book and showed the book, How Do You Kill 11 Million People? And then I had a friend that texted me. It was Tack Robinson, who Tack has been a guest on the podcast. Tack is the CEO of Confluence Group. And Tack texted me and said, "Hey, Ted is a friend of mine. Would it be okay with you if I give him your private email and cell number?" And I said, "Sure. Yeah, sure." And so he did. And a couple of days later, I'm with my son, Adam, and my phone rings. And I look, and it says, Ted Nugent. So, I'm going to do the dad thing with my son. I go, he goes, "Hey, Ted." but we talked for 20 minutes, and he seems to be an awesome guy, the Motor City Madman. And Ted Nugent is the rocker who is and he mentioned to me on the phone the other day, he has never had alcohol, never taken drugs. And he said, Jimi Hendrix, John Belushi, these friends of mine would laugh at me for not partaking. And I'm still alive. So, Mariel Venezuela says that you bought the book, How to Kill 11 Million People, after seeing Ted's post, and it's a must-read for everyone. Thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate Ted. I had a great time talking to him. Kay Austin says, "What does it say on my pocket?" You're trying to read it? It actually says surf and turf. Now, let me tell you where that came from. Now, we're going to play, I'm going to tell you where it came from. I'm going to read you a little bit out of the noticer. But we're going to play a game today. And the game is called Oh Yes or BS. We'll tell you about that in just a minute. But first, let me read you a little bit from the noticer. Okay, so this is near the first of the book. This is page 11. I've just met Jones, and Jones, I just met him like a couple of days before, and Jones gave me books, and now he's showing up, and I'm working catching bait, and Jones says, talking about the books, he says, "I'm getting them from the library, but I'm picking them out special for you." Jones then held up a plastic bag. "You hungry? I got lunch." "I'm always hungry," I said. "Lately, I've been a one meal a day kind of guy, or what my mom used to call an opportunistic eater." "Well, come on," he said. "Get out of the water. I have a feast." The feast turned out to be Vienna sausages and sardines. I was hungry, so I ate it, but I wasn't exactly thrilled with the fare, and Jones knew it. I wondered later if that's why he brought it in the first place. We had settled under an oak tree on a high dune, the beach in front of us and the deep blue lagoon at our backs. I wore old tennis shoes, blue jean cutoffs, and no shirt. Jones, in his usual casual attire, had coiled a blue bandana around his head. The blue of that headband seemed to make his eyes glow. From where we sat, we could hear the crashing of the surf, and there was just enough breeze to make the summer temperature bearable. "So, what are you eating?" Jones asked, peering at me with a smile. I looked up, puzzled. Wiping my mouth with the back of my hand, I swallowed and said, "What? You know what I'm eating? Same as you." "Really?" the old man teased with a sly look. "Somehow I doubt it. But let's see." He leaned over to glance at my food, then looked back at me. "What are you eating?" he asked again. "And where are you eating it?" Seeing that I was now more confused than ever, he added gently, "It's not a trick. Just answer the questions." I raised my eyebrows and said, "Well?" I held up my hands as if to say, "I still don't know what you're getting at," and said, "I guess I'm—" "No, don't guess. Just tell me." "Okay, I'm eating sardines and Vienna sausages." "Where?" "In the sand." Jones smiled. "I thought so." Nodding then, he said again, "I thought so. Well, the books will help, but I believe I can help as well." "Jones," I said, shaking my head, "what are you talking about?" "Your vision, my boy. It's incredibly cloudy at the moment, but I'm certain we can clear a pathway from your head to your heart and into the future." I was frustrated but curious. "I still don't understand." Jones put his hand on my shoulder and said, "I know you don't, and I wouldn't expect you to understand." He leaned close to me. "Because you lack perspective." He laughed at the expression on my face, but continued, "Young man, you see only the sand at your feet and what you are eating that you wish was something else. I don't tell you this as a rebuke. You are very ordinary in your views. Most people are just like you, disgusted with themselves for what they are and what they eat and what they drive. Most of us never stop to think there are quite literally millions in this world who lack our blessings and opportunities, have no food to eat at all, and no hope of ever owning a car. The situation in which you find yourself is fraught with difficulty, yes. It is also piled high with benefits." Jones paused to ponder a thought, narrowed his eyes, then said, "Here, for you, young man, is a law of the universe, one of many to be sure, but one that is especially applicable to your life at present. Remember, whatever you focus upon increases." I frowned, trying to grasp the meaning of his words. Fortunately, Jones didn't leave me guessing. "When you focus on the things you need," he went on to explain, "you'll find those needs increasing. If you concentrate your thoughts on what you don't have, you will soon be concentrating on other things that you had forgotten you don't have and feel worse. If you set your mind on loss, you're more likely to lose. But a grateful perspective brings happiness and abundance into a person's life." Jones saw the doubt on my face. He put his cans aside and shifted his body to face me directly. "Consider this. When we are happy and enthusiastic," he said, "other people enjoy being around us. True?" "I guess," I answered. "No guesses," Jones chided. "When we are happy and enthusiastic, other people enjoy being around us. Yes or no?" "Yes." "And knowing that one's opportunities and encouragement come from people. What happens to a person everyone enjoys being around? I was beginning to catch on. They get more opportunities and encouragement? I ventured. That is correct, Jones affirmed. And what happens to a life filled with opportunities and encouragement? As I opened my mouth to speak, the old man answered for me. A life filled with opportunities and encouragement finds more and more opportunities and encouragement, and success becomes inevitable. Seeing the hope and new understanding in my expression, Jones held up a finger. I must caution you, however, he said, that the opposite of this principle is true as well. When a person is negative, complaining, and disagreeable, other people stay away, and that person receives less encouragement and fewer opportunities because no one wants to be around him. And we know what happens to a life without opportunities and encouragement. Things get worse and worse, I answered. Jones paused a moment to let the truth of my last realization sink in. Then he offered a plan of action. So how does one become a person whom other people want to be around? Let me make a suggestion. Ask yourself this question every day. What is it about me that other people would change if they could? Thinking for a moment, I had a question of my own. Jones, what if I get an answer about something that I don't want to change? The old man tittered and replied, The question wasn't about you in the first place. The question was, what would other people change about you if they could? Sensing my uncertainty, he explained, Look, son, I'm not saying you should live your life according to the whims of others. I am simply pointing out that if you are to become a person of influence, if you want people to believe the things you believe or buy what you are selling, then others must at least be comfortable around you. A successful life has a great deal to do with perspective, and another person's perspective about you can sometimes be as important as your perspective about yourself. For several minutes, we both sat silently, watching the gulls soar overhead, listening to the surf break on the beach. Then Jones began to gather the empty cans and place them in the plastic bag. Standing, he extended his hand and helped me to my feet. Incidentally, he said with a smirk, you ate sardines and Vienna sausages in the sand. I dined on surf and turf with an ocean view. He slapped me on the back. It's all about perspective. So, this is the new t-shirt. It has a pocket with surf and turf. And then on the back, it has, it's all about perspective. And it has the sardines and the Vienna sausages. So you can see on the website, they're in a bunch of different colors, and Matt will provide a link to that for you. Hey, before we go into the game, I want to give everybody a heads up that this Thursday, today's Tuesday, Thursday will be the first day that we're broadcasting the Blue Plate Special on wisdomharbor.com, exclusively on wisdomharbor.com. That's wisdom, HARBOUR.com. And for the next few weeks, we'll be doing the Tuesday Blue Plate on this regular social media, and then the Thursday Blue Plate will be on wisdomharbor.com until we take them all over on wisdomharbor.com. And as you know, the reason we're doing that is because we're being shut down and slapped, and when I mention one of the social media platforms and say that they're hard to deal with, we get shut off the air. So I won't mention I won't mention it today so that you can stay on the air with us. But there's so much on wisdomharbor.com that's happening besides the blue plate. And it's obviously, there's plans starting at $2.99 a month. Matt and I were just out and meeting with Jimmy Yeary, who Jimmy is a captain on Wisdom Harbor, and Jimmy is the award-winning songwriter. He's won the CMA and ACM Song of the Year award for I Drive Your Truck. He won Bluegrass Song of the Year. He's had 14 number one hits in different genres. He wrote I Call Mama for Tim McGraw. Well, Jimmy is teaching guitar lessons on Wisdom Harbor. They're like 6, 7, 8-minute lessons starting from the very beginning. And so we just spent a day filming a whole bunch of them and getting them all in order. And so they're all coming out. How many are on there now, Matt?
There's 3 on there now, and there's a 4th one coming very soon.
Okay. All right.
But before we get too far, I don't know if you can hear them drilling downstairs. As soon as they just started, your camera got dark, which I'm assuming was from some type of static in the building. So I'm going to unplug your camera real quick and see if we can reset it.
Okay.
So sit tight.
I do hear them drilling. So I'll just keep talking so that you know that I'm here. And I'm light again. Huh. Wow. Well, that was pretty sharp of you to know that you could do that to circumvent the drilling. If it's not some social media platform, it's our own building drilling. Okay. Gregory Lee Davis is my brother Brian. E. Davis is in your audience today for his birthday. So he's watching Judas DeWitt. Happy birthday, Brian. Happy birthday, Brian, from Deanna Kilpatrick. Hope you're enjoying the front row seating. Jama Ladd, Tammy Nance, everybody's saying happy birthday to Brian. We're getting a lot of happy birthdays. Okay, we got a new game, and this game will be played occasionally on the blue plate, and these will be logged on Wisdom Harbor, so you can go back and see them. And but the name of this game is going to be Oh Yes or BS. And it's going to be up to you to vote. I've got 10 little explainable facts, and you're going to have to decide if these are the truth or not. And so you're able to comment live time. And so if you think it's the truth, just log in a oh yes. If you think it's not the truth, just log in a BS. And then at the end on the honor system, we're just going to see how well some people did and just say, oh, I got all 10 of them and the bonus question, or, let's just see. Okay. So this will be, depend on my ability to sell these facts. Okay, and we'll tell you as we go. And I'll give you a minute to vote, but this is oh yes or BS. Number 1, if we were able to remove every boat, ship, and submarine from the oceans of the world, the sea level would then rise almost 2 inches. Oh yes or BS? Vote now. Our studio audience has voted. That is BS. The levels of the oceans in the world would rise about the width of a human hair. That's about how much. Okay, number
I think
2.
everybody did a pretty good job with that. Mark Jones, Jeannie, Marcy, Serena, Tammy, Becky, Heather, Kimberly, Mike. But everybody called it.
Really? Oh, we'll just have to get a little more serious here. I gotta loosen up. Okay, here we go. We all know about the medieval practice of bloodletting using leeches, and how battlefield surgeons used maggots to clean gangrenous wounds. But as recently as 2004, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has permitted the production and marketing of maggots for use as a medical device. Okay, we got mixed results out here in the studio. What are we getting there, Matt?
Well, there's about a 15-second delay, so let's see here. The answers are just coming in. So let me. Geez, they're coming in so fast I can't copy them.
Just give us a vocal report.
All right, Serena, we got yes, a BS, a yes, a yes, a yes, a yes, a BS, a true. That's not the game.
Yeah, the game
yes,
is not
yes,
true.
Yes, I'd say there's much more yeses.
That is a yes. In 2004, maggots were approved as a medical device. Yuck! I think I'd just rather croak. Whew. I had my heart doctor the other day recommended that for my heart that I lay off half of the kidney stone medicine that the urologist had prescribed for my heart. And I said, you're giving me one of those lady or the tiger choices, because I think I'd rather die of a heart attack than of kidney stones. So, just like kill me quickly and don't let me linger in. All right, number 3. The blue whale is the largest mammal that has ever lived. In fact, compared even to dinosaurs, the blue whale is 5 times the size of a T-Rex. The average blue whale has a heart that is approximately the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. So it should come as no surprise that it has massive veins to match. A full-grown human could swim through the veins of a blue whale. Oh, yes or BS? Just give me a vocal report on them, Matt. You don't have to write it in.
A BS.
Just
yes.
give me like a percentage. Just a guess percentage of what we're hearing.
I would say maybe about 25% BS, the other 75 as yes.
Okay, well, the BSers are wrong. That's a yes. Now, it might be a tight fit, and I'm not sure you could wear scuba tanks, but you could swim through the veins of a blue whale, up around the heart area anyway. All right? This one is just cut and dried pretty straight. The national animal of Scotland is a unicorn. Oh, yes or BS? The national animal of Scotland is a unicorn. Getting a lot of BS's on that. What do we got?
Yep, let's see. I'd say we're at about 90% BS.
Okay.
95% now. Yeah, it's
Overwhelmingly BS.
yeah, overwhelmingly.
Despite the lack of existence of a unicorn, oh yes, the national animal of Scotland is a unicorn.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. How about that? All right. Number 5. Hall of Fame baseball pitcher Hoyt Wilhelm hit a home run in his last major league at bat. It was the only home run he hit in his 21-year career. Oh, yes or BS? 21 years in the major leagues. In the National League, which means he batted, hit a home run, his last major league at bat, the only one he hit in his 21-year major league.
We're getting a lot more yeses.
Sorry, that's BS.
Ooh.
But it's a trick BS because Hoyt Wilhelm hit a home run in his first major league at bat, and it was the only home run he ever hit in his 21-year major league career. Hoyt Wilhelm pitched for the Braves for a while. All right, number 6. Astronomers estimate there are approximately 300 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy, while scientists say that Earth contains 3 trillion trees. Therefore, there are more trees on Earth than there are stars in the Milky Way. Oh, yes or BS?
All right, lots.
You can't use Google. You can't use Google. You can't. Don't come in here and cheat. Don't cheat on your birthday, Brian.
Lots of BSs. We've got a few yeses. Heavily weighted towards no.
Heavily weighted toward BS?
Yep.
That's a no yes. Sorry, that's a no yes. Oh, yes, more trees on Earth than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy. That's what scientists and astronomers have concluded. Don't argue with me. I'm not a scientist or astronomer. I just play one on TV. Number 7. Electric eels are actually misnamed. The shock that they produce is actually due to a toxic venom that they secrete. Oh, yes or BS? Okay, we got oh yeses from the studio audience. What do we got here?
Let's see. This should be coming in any second. BS, BS, yes. Sure, why not? Yes, yes, yes.
Now we have a gender divide in the studio audience.
Alexa doesn't know the answer. LOL.
You tell them to quit using Alexa and Siri and Google. This is a game show. There's no $1 million prize for getting it right, but you will get kicked out of class for cheating.
Yeah.
So we have a gender divide in the studio audience. The ladies say that is true, that there is no real electricity, that it is a toxic venom that they secrete. The men say, no, electric eels are really electric. And that is an oh yes. They are really, no wait, that is a BS, because electric eels are really electric. They can discharge over 500 volts of electricity at once. 500 volts at once. I wonder if you have to like touch them in 2 places, like you have to, I wonder if you like wear rubber shoes and touch them, it's fine. I don't know. I wonder if you touch one and you're in your car, if it's fine because the car's grounded.
Could be.
Maybe. Have a submarine with tires so the electric eels don't shock you. Number 8, the continent with the highest literacy rate is Australia. Oh, yes or BS?
All right, getting lots of BS's, one yes, another yes, more BS's, one yes. Yeah, I'd say it's weighted to the BS.
That is a BS. The continent with the highest literacy rate is not Australia, because virtually every resident on the continent is a scientist. The continent with the highest literacy rate is Antarctica. All right, number 9. I'm interested to see how you guys will react to this one. At the height of his power, Colombian cartel boss Pablo Escobar was spending $2,500 per week on rubber bands to hold the cash he was bringing in. It is also estimated that the cartel lost about $2 billion per year to rats eating the money in storage. Oh, yes or BS?
We're getting the yeses. Lots of yeses.
That's an oh, yes.
Wow.
Can you imagine? $2,500 a week in rubber bands to hold the cash? They also burned about $1 billion a year in 5s and 1s because they didn't want to deal with them.
Wow.
All right. Number 10. According to the book, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, the final gasp of the empire occurred when the plague infected the population. That was the final gasp. That was the final straw. It was falling, and then it fell. Final gasp, the plague. Oh, yes or BS? Getting a lot of oh, yeses in the studio.
BS, 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 oh yes, oh yes, BS, 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 oh yes, BS.
So more BSs?
I would say yeah, more. And then we just got 4 more yeses though.
It's about 50-50.
Yeah.
Okay, let me read it again. According to the book, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, the final gasp of the empire occurred when the plague infected the population. That is BS. According to The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, the final gasp occurred when the borders were open. Take what you want out of that. That's just history. And we have a bonus. Here's a bonus question. And so about that last one, though, they had tightly controlled borders for years and had allowed certain people in and certain people held them out and had policies but they tried to augment their population, and it segmented society, and they opened the borders, and that was the last gasp. So here's the bonus question. The Pacific Ocean is actually almost a third saltier than the Atlantic Ocean. And the reason is because the Gulf Stream flows from west to east. Therefore, while both oceans evaporate, when the Pacific evaporates and clouds form and gather in the Gulf Stream, they're generally moving to the east. Therefore, there is significantly more evaporation in the Pacific and more precipitation in the Atlantic. And the end result is the Pacific Ocean is almost a third saltier than the Atlantic. Oh, yes or BS?
Let's see. Oh yes, BS, BS. Oh yes, BS. Oh yes, BS, BS. Oh yes, BS. We're getting a lot more BSs now. Probably people looking online or something.
Yeah, that's BS. And I made it up. But I thought it sounded good.
It did.
Thought that sounded very logical, so. All right, well, do we have anybody with a perfect score? Will anybody fess up to a perfect score? I'm just curious. We will play this game again. Believe me, I'm going to get better at it. And you people had better get more honest. I don't want to hear this Alexa, Google BS.
Heather Olson says she got 6 out of 10. That was before the bonus. I'm not sure where she's at there. Becky Attenberry got 7 plus the bonus. Tammy Nance missed 2. Emily Isbell missed 1.
Oh.
Michelle Cromis, 8 plus the bonus.
So Gen Z only missed 1?
That's what she said. Let's see. Jen Andrews says perfect score of insert buzzer. I'm not sure. Brenda Gorman only got 1 right. That's all right.
That's all right, Brenda.
Jamo Lad 7.
I think that's funny.
Christy says she got 10 of 10 plus the bonus.
Christy who?
You know which Christy.
Christy, my sister?
Sandy Robinson, 9 out of 11.
Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. And here's the pattern. Little M over here, who is around me every day, got 9 right. My sister, who's been around me my entire life, got them all right. I'm thinking it has more to do with them looking at my face and telling whether I'm lying or not than actually thinking about the material. There must be some tell. I think next time we play this game, I'll do it behind a veil. Kevin Elliott says, I need a prize for missing them all. We'll give you a Chick-fil-A sandwich, Kevin. How about that? All right. Whew. Linda Stina said, honest engine here, did terrible. Need easier ones. Nope, they get harder from here. So do you think they get harder from here? Is that oh yes or BS? That's oh yes. Kevin Perkins says their BS meter is finely tuned because they've been around me so much. I resemble that remark. It's probably true. Because I have a habit in my life of, in my personal life, when people ask a question just around the dinner table, and if anybody hesitates, I'll just answer it. And a lot of times, if we're having dinner or something with somebody we don't know well, I'm just hoping my wife doesn't roll her eyes and blow it for me before I can tell them, no, that's not true. Because, you can say something and explain it, and people go, really? I didn't know that. And you go, yeah, I just made it up. But Polly and the boys, and evidently Christy and Little M, their BS meter is finally tuned. But I don't think much of somebody whose answer to a question is, no. I mean, come on, be entertaining. Be entertaining. Have an answer. And then you can tell them, no, I made that up. I think it is a lot more entertaining. For a long time, I would tell the boys that I had a name that I would use when they would say, well, who did this? Who invented this? And whatever last name I used, the first name would always be Homer. They would go, God, you're making that up, Dad. Yes, I am. Absolutely. Jimmy Urey says, got here late. I'll go back and play whatever game this is. All right, Jimmy Urey. Hey, man, drive carefully. Appreciate you being there to film the guitar lessons for Wisdom Harbor. People are loving that. And we got some to go, don't we? All right. Hey, thank you guys for being here with us today on the Blue Plate Special. It was kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. I think we've locked on to something here with this Oh Yes or BS, and I think we will continue to play it. Remember that Thursday's Blue Plate Special is on wisdomharbor.com, and so if you haven't registered, go ahead and register. It's $2.99 for the month, and it's got whatever plan you want, and it's got the free app that can go on your phone, and so get on. We have a lot going on there, and it's also a great gift that you can give to somebody. But you will use this, be entertained by this, be educated by this a lot. So we'll see you Thursday, same time, different place. Bye-bye.